channel. I'm Mandy. Today I've got some of my favorite face brushes that I use in my routine almost every day. So just stick around if you want to see what those are. Hey everybody, welcome to my video. Today I've got a few makeup brushes. Well, it's going to be more than a few, but I got a few of my face brushes that I want to show y'all. And some of these are my favorite brushes that I put in my everyday makeup routine. No, I shouldn't put makeup on every day, but I do. Now there are those days where I am makeup free, but for those days, these are the brushes that I use. And this is going to be a part 1, so I'm going to do a part 2 for my eyeshadow brushes. So let's go ahead and just get started. Now these are a mix. It's not just one brand. It's all kinds of different brands. And it's going to surprise you, there's no Morphe. I've just never really liked the Morphe brushes. I hate saying that. I don't have nothing against them. It's just the bristles fall out a little bit too much for me. They shed way too much. So the first brush that I'm going to show you, this is that Luxie. This is the 660 Precision Foundation Brush. Now this is my favorite brush for usually whenever I'm highlighting my under eyes or the actual highlight over your cheekbones. This is one of my favorite brushes for using for either one of those two. And that's when I'm just wanting a light dusting on the under eyes, not really a bake, because you can't really bake with this. The next one I have is the e.l.f. I think this is their flat top contouring brush. I'm pretty sure that's exactly what that is. Some of these brushes, like the words have wore off where I've held it so much and used it so much, but I love this brush. This is perfect for outlining that contour and having a straight edge on it. I love this brush for that. I don't actually use it, for contouring because it gives me a little bit too sharp of an edge. But now when I do want to contour, I usually take this to do the bake up underneath of it. That'll straighten up the edge a little bit, but not too much. Next brush I have is another Luxie. I love Luxie brushes. This is the 640, the Pro Precision. This is their tapered brush. This is such a beautiful brush, and of course Luxie, they have got like the softest bristles. Now this one I use exactly the same way if I would use the other one. It's either for the under eye or I'll use this for my highlight. And it's just the perfect brush for laying down the highlight over the cheekbone. I love using this brush. And like I said, they are so soft and these are so easy to clean. The next brush that I have is, this one is the e.l.f. and it's the Total Face brush. Now the bristles are a little bit more stiffer on this, or denser as you want to call it. This is actually what I use to wipe away the bake. That's about all I do with this. Or if I put too much powder on, I'll dust it off. Or, this is basically my duster brush is what I call this. But I love this brush. And of course, this is used every single day. The next one we have is another, well, this is a Wet n Wild. I've got a couple of Wet n Wilds because I love their brushes. They're soft. Oh my goodness. This is their flat top foundation brush. If you can see it. Sorry about the lighting, it's awful, it's horrible. Now this I do use for foundation. I use this for exactly what it is supposed to be used for. And it is very dense and it's not really that stiff because these bristles are like the softest you've ever felt. But it is perfect for blending in your foundation and just kind of buffing it out. Now since we're going to stick to Wet n Wild, I've got also their powder brush. If you could see that, and this is very dense, and this is just a beautiful powder brush. This I use this for a number of things. I could dust off the bake, or I could do the blush. I actually can do contour with this. If I'm really just wanting that diffused contour look, this is the one that I grab. But most of the time, it's for powder in my face. And I don't really buff my powder in. Every once in a while I will, but most of the time I'm just sort of patting it in. So this is exactly what I would do with that, is I just pat in my powder, or, if I'm needing some powder over, if you're out and you're sweating and everything, of course this is the perfect brush to go ahead and powder down your face. Now the next brush I have, this is, well, we might as well stick to Wet n Wild. This is the last Wet n Wild brush that I've got in this. And of course the words are all for this one too. But this is their, I think this is called their concealer brush. I'm not exactly sure. But this is a very dense, but it's flat. But it does have a lot of bristles in it and it's very soft. Now this, most of the time what I'll do with this is I will lay down my bake up under my eyes. That is the perfect brush for doing that. I just can't remember what it's called, but I know it's Wet n Wild, and these are like $1.50. I mean, you can't beat the prices on these brushes. They are tremendously cheap and perfect. These brushes, I mean, they work like a charm. Now, the next thing we have is the e.l.f. This is their pointed foundation brush. I love this brush for the exact same thing. I'll lay down bake with it. And most of the time I'll lay down bake with this, and then I'll go ahead and lay the bake down on my nose when I am doing that, or my chin, or wherever else. I grab this brush every day. Every single day I grab this brush. And if you could tell, it is very dense. You'll probably tell there's some powder left because I have used it today. But this brush is perfect for getting in those nooks and crannies, the corners, everything. This thing, this lays down product like nobody's business. Next thing we have, sticking with e.l.f., of course, this is the e.l.f. the Ultimate Blending Brush. Now this brush, this could be used for foundation, and I have used it for foundation a couple of times, but most of the time I use the Wet n Wild brush for my foundation. Now this is perfect for foundation, don't get me wrong. I have used it a few times and I love using it for foundation. I just fell in love with the Wet n Wild to do it because it diffuses it more. This right here, usually what I'll do is I'll do my blush with it, but it is so dense that most of the time it's got to be a light blush. One where there's not a lot of pigment, not a lot of kick up. This will be the brush that I usually grab for that. And it does work perfect to do that. And also blending out, it's wonderful. Next thing we have, this is the e.l.f. I think this is from their, what is it? The Bare Necessity? I'm not thinking it's Bare Necessities. It is something like that, barely. I'll write it down on the top somewhere up here. But this is their contouring brush. Beautifully Bare, that's what I'm trying to think of. This is from their Beautifully Bare line. And this thing is perfect for contour. You can do bronzer with this. There are so many things you could do with this little brush. And see, it is so little, it's so cute. But this is a very, very dense brush, but they are so soft. A lot of these brushes that you get like this, they stick you to death. It's crazy. But this is perfect. It is so soft, but yet still so dense at the same time. And like I said, this is perfect for contour. I mean, I couldn't ask for a better contour brush. This is the only one that I grab when I am doing contour. So that is a must-have. Next thing I have, now this, the name has rubbed off, but I'm pretty sure this is one of e.l.f.'s. And I just use this for my blush. This is a blush brush. But I'm pretty sure this is one of e.l.f.'s brush, if I can remember right. And if you could tell the bristles, it's not too dense, but it is just dense enough to go ahead and put the blush on. You could stipple it on, or you could blend it on, whatever you want to do with this. But most of the time, this is what I'm using for blush. I mean, it just works perfect for me, and I like to blend my blush down. This is the perfect blush brush for me right there. Now, the next thing we have, now again, I'm sorry, and my goodness, if you've seen this brush, my dog got a hold of it. This brush has about had it. But if you can tell, this thing is still intact. This is what I use for bronzer. This is my bronzer brush, and the name has rubbed off of it. Matter of fact, if anybody knows who this brush is, remind me, because I've had this thing for years, and of course my dog had to get a hold of it one day. But the bristles are all intact. This brush has been through a lot, and you know what? It is still going. I pick this up every day. every day I put bronzer on with this brush, and it works perfect. That one right there, I don't know who made that brush. I don't know if it was e.l.f. or who, but when I find out, I'm getting so many more of these, it's going to be ridiculous. Now this one is another nameless brush. I don't know why I got these up. I'm going to try to look them up, see if I can't get the names for y'all. But this is a dual-ended brush, face brush. And this right here is a concealer side, and this right here is kind of like a blush brush. But most of the time, and of course, see, it's got the slide up. You can put the lid on. The other side had one too, but I did lose the lid to that. Most of the time, I'll take this, and if I'm not using the e.l.f. blush for the contour, I am using this. If you could tell, these are very dense, but it's not, it's so soft. They're not prickly. It doesn't hurt or anything. But you could do a contour with this, and you could actually slide this up to bring those in tighter, to do a sharper edge contour, if you can see that. But most of the time, if I'm picking this up, it's either for contour or I'll use it for blush. And on the other side, I don't really use the other side. It does look like it would be nice for maybe packing up some makeup under your eyes, or maybe lining, you know, your bake. I don't really use that one that much, but that's usually what I would use it for. But that is such a cute little brush. Now the next one, and oh my goodness, this is the EcoTools, and the name's rubbed off for this one. This is the EcoTools fan brush. And of course, you know what I use this for. This is for the highlight. I'll put it up above my cheekbones with it, above the lip, the nose. This one is just the perfect little fan brush, and I'm not really a big fan of fan brushes. Get it? No. I'm not really a big fan of fan brushes. Really, truly, that is the truth. But this little booger, I'm telling you, I love this little brush for highlight. And they are actually pretty dense to be as small as they are now. I've had fan brushes in the past where they are just like paper thin, and I've never really had a lot of fan brushes because, you know, I've never actually had a good one that worked. But this one has changed my mind, so I have been kind of looking at some more fan brushes to see if I could get another one like this one, because this one's just about had it, and I'm going to need a new one soon. Now, for the next thing, these ain't really face brushes, but these are for the brows, so I went ahead and put it in the part one of my brushes. Now, this one is the It brushes from Ulta, if you can see. And, of course, it says it's for the liner or brow. Let me see if I can't get a better picture. There we go. Now, this, on the other side, it tells liner and brow. Now, this has got the dual fiber brush. I know you can't really see it that well in this video, but this is so perfect for drawing on the little hairs for your eyebrows. This brush is just perfect for that. And every once in a while, when I'm not using this, or if I can't find it, because I misplace stuff all the time, then I do have this other one. Now, this one is EcoTools, and that is about the same density and everything. So these two brushes is the ones that I do use for my, you know, drawing the little lines on your brows, or, you know, when you're doing the concealer up under your brow line and everything. This is what I use for that. And I did decide to throw those in with face brushes because I consider brows your face, so that's why they're in here. But now we're going to do a part two. And of course, you know, and it don't matter which one of these brushes, these are also for the brows. Any one of these spoolies, these things just work so great. And I've got so many of them. I just pick up whichever one I want every day to use them. But you can never have too many spoolies. That's what I always say. But now we're going to do a part two to this video, and I will show y'all what I use for my eyes. There's quite a few that I'll put in my main routine. So we'll be having a part two on that, and hopefully you'll come back and see that video. So that is the end of this video, guys. That's all my face brushes that I use. Well, not all of them, but that's usually the ones that are put in route with my makeup routine, and that's usually every day. And like I said, maybe I shouldn't do makeup every day. There are maybe a couple of days that I don't. You know, I'm in my mid-30s, so you just got to let your skin breathe every once in a while, and I know I should do that. But anyways, we'll get more on that later, guys. I'm going to let y'all go. Thank y'all for coming to see my video. I love y'all very much, and please don't forget to like and subscribe. I love you all.